Hey guys, this is Mike, and you're listening to Feeling Twisty. I'm really glad you're here. I want to start with a quote from Neville from his lecture, An Inner Conviction. Tonight, I ask you to take the most fantastic thing in this world and find an inner conviction within yourself that is yours. For the truth of any concept is known by the feeling of certainty which that conviction inspires. Once you have that inner feeling of certainty, don't ask me to confirm it. Believe in yourself and trust your inner feeling. I love that line. Believe in yourself and trust your inner feeling. Neville calls it a peculiar certainty. I love that line, that phrase so much. I have 2 episodes of that in the title. Just the other day, I did one called A Peculiar Certainty, where I talked about, I know that I know. I just know that it's done. And I got an email from a listener about that, about how to reach that point of knowing that it's done. Now, she is not new to Neville. In fact, I know that she knows imagination creates reality because she shared with me some wonderful stories that are evidence of that. But right now, she has this question of getting to the point of feeling that it's done, this knowingness, that peculiar certainty. And I'll give you a little bit of background before I read a portion of her email. 30 years ago, she met the man of her dreams. And in spite of people around her telling her, girl, there ain't no way that's going to happen, she surrendered to the state of her wish fulfilled. She knew he was hers, and she held on to that. 30 years later, she's still with him. So she knows how this works, but still has that question just right now. It's just a state she's in. I was in this questioning mode for a good while, wondering, am I doing it right? Didn't feel like I was getting to that point of doneness, to that peculiar certainty. And I would start to question myself. What it came down to for me is just I had a lack of faith in myself. Neville says your faith in God is measured by your confidence in yourself because your true self is God. And that quote was one thing that really moved me or tipped it over for me. It helped me shake off that questioning, doubting state that I was in. Neville says in The Law and the Promise, the man who is aware of what he is imagining knows what he is creating, realizes more and more that the drama of life is imaginal, not physical. All activity is at bottom imaginal. And that's what I'm going to talk about today after I read her email, which I had forgotten to do. So here's a portion of her email. I do my imaginal scene, and I say to myself, it's done. But is it? Am I just wishfully thinking? It's easy to know it's done when you know it's done, like I did 30 years ago, and like you seem to have the ability to do now. But what if you don't feel it? And more importantly, how do you feel it? How do you know it's done? I have no idea how I knew it back then. I just knew. I knew then, so I know 1,000% that what you were saying is absolutely true. I'm just having trouble recreating that absolute knowledge. It's like figuring out the answer to a difficult puzzle, but then when you go to do it again, you can't remember how you figured it out in the first place. Is it repetition? Is it convincing myself or faking it till you make it? Should I tell everyone? Or is it trying to stay in that moment all day long? How do you get to the place where you just simply and absolutely know it's done, other than just knowing? And she asks me, does that make sense? Yes, it does make sense, because I've had the exact question. I would read stories from people and have my own experiences where great things happened. And yet here I am finding myself questioning, is it really done? And not having that feeling of doneness. I have totally been there. And today I'm going to answer it in one way. There's so much here in this email, and I thought of all kinds of things to talk about. But what I'm going to do with this one is spread it out and share what worked for me in different episodes. Today, I'm going to talk about frequency. And I'm not talking about frequency of returning to the state of that wish fulfilled. I'm talking about frequency of moving in imagination, of assuming the feeling of fulfillment of every desire that I have. It was taught to me a while back by a man who's not even on Facebook anymore, but he gave to me so much. And in this case, he told me to practice, to just throughout the day come up with things to imagine, have fun with it, and imagine that it's done, whether you're imagining a scene or just assuming the feeling that it's done, deciding that it's done, because, your true self is God. So he encouraged me to play as a way to practice. And along with practicing, I get to notice what I'm imagining, how I'm imagining it, how I'm feeling when I imagine it, and then seeing it come about, experiencing it in the physical world. And then the times it didn't come about, noticing what I was imagining, what I was feeling when I was imagining it. It was a way to practice in a fun way. No stress, no pressure, but fun. And so today I wanted to talk about that frequency of playing in imagination. Because like that quote from the Law and the Promise says, the man who is aware of what he is imagining knows what he is creating, realizes more and more that the drama of life is imaginal, not physical. All activity is at bottom imaginal. I'll give you a couple of examples of what I did when I was encouraged to start practicing, to work my imaginative muscle. I was sitting in my truck outside of the hair salon waiting for my daughter to get her hair done. And I was thinking about what this man had told me. So I thought, I want to hear a particular car horn honk, a particular rhythm. Bump, bump, bump. 2 quick honks and a longer honk. Bump, bump, bump. And I just, sitting there in the truck, I just imagined hearing those 3 horn honks. And I let it go. Now, I didn't hear it on the way home, which, to be honest, I was looking for. I was on the look for it, like expecting it. And when I got home, I realized, okay, I need to back off. I heard the horn honk in imagination. I know it's done. Keeping this fun, keeping this without stress and no pressure, I just let it go. And I had forgotten about it. I didn't think about it the rest of the day. 11:30 that night. Now, where I live, it's a very quiet street. I live in the back of a neighborhood on a loop. And we don't get, we rarely get any traffic back here, and certainly not that late at night. And our windows were open because it was a cool night, and I'm in my bathroom, and I hear bump, bump, bump. I hear the 2 short horn honks and the long one. Bump, bump, bump. Just like I'd imagined earlier that day. Cool, okay? I know what I did there. I imagined a scene. I imagined hearing the horn honk. And it didn't come exactly immediately, but it happened that night. The next day, I'm piddling around the house and I want to practice some more. And so what do I want to do? I want to see a hawk. I want to see a hawk circling overhead. So I imagined looking up in the sky and seeing the hawk. It took a moment, just a moment, imagining seeing the hawk. And I let it go. And as soon as I finished it, I thought, well, I want to see something different. I want to see a bird that I wouldn't normally see around here, because we see hawks from time to time. I thought that was too easy. So I wanted to see a bird, a bluebird specifically, not a blue jay, because we have plenty of those around here, and cardinals and other birds. I wanted to see one of those pretty little bluebirds, which I've never seen as an adult around my part of town. So I didn't imagine a scene. I just decided, as soon as I did the scene imagining the hawk, I went straight to deciding I was going to see a bluebird. And just decided it's done. The next day, or rather the same day, that afternoon, I'm looking out my upstairs bedroom window at the backyard. And this bird floats up and hovers just a few feet from the window. I swear the thing was looking at me. And he's flapping his wings, just hovering there for a second or two. At first, I was surprised. I took a step back, like, whoa, is this bird flying into the window or what? And then I realized, as the sun reflected off its feathers, there's my bluebird. And as soon as I acknowledged that it was my bluebird, I swear it nodded at me and flew off and went about its bird business. So I want to tell all of you to practice. Don't just let it be about the big things and worry and stress over the big stuff. I was telling someone the other day that if you just decide that it's done, that the thing you want is done, and sustain that decision, it will come about. So this way, for me, this practicing that was told to me got me to that point of noticing, because I could, instead of looking back on my life and seeing the evidence all around me of my imagination, which, by the way, is also great to do, this gave me an opportunity to actively participate in it and choose things specifically to imagine and then see them come about in my physical world. And to have fun with it. And while I'm having fun with it, I'm working that imaginative muscle. I'm practicing. I'm moving in imagination. Every time I do that, I'm knowing more and more imagination. I'm understanding more about who I really am. So today I want you to practice in a fun way. One good reason for that is it takes your mind off the one big thing and has you just constantly moving in imagination, enjoying the ride. Why make this difficult? So to answer her question today, assume that you no longer have any problems getting to that feeling of doneness. And then do this. Increase your frequency of playing in imagination. Come up with some wild things. And I promise you, the more you do this and play with it, this whole feeling of, did I do it right? Or is it done? Will come to you naturally. And you have this total confidence in yourself. And so when you read that quote that I read, your faith in God is measured by your confidence in yourself because your true self is God. You have a feeling of, hell yeah, that's right. Okay, like I said earlier, this email has a lot of stuff I want to talk about. But today, that's it. Send me your questions, your comments, your requests to feelingtwisty@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook, Feeling Twisty. Well, just search at Feeling Twisty on Facebook and Instagram and find us there. I love you guys. This is Feeling Twisty.